Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hack. In this video, you're checking out another build for New World. This is going to be our CLERIC Easy Healer build for group content. This build offers a lot of healing power and a lot of strong defensive survivability, ensuring that you stay alive so that you can keep your group alive. This build is so easy to use, you guys. It's basically a meta healer setup for at least the early game, probably well into the late game in New World also. And before we jump into things, just to let you know, we do have a website, rpgdojo.com, which has a full New World wiki, which includes some great guides on attributes, weapons, skills. We've got a full-length beginner guide and builds, lots of New World builds. Link will be in the description if you want to check it out. With that said, let's jump right into the video. All right, so let's talk about attributes first on a healer. What do you need to spec into? Well, your primary attribute, just to make your life staff more effective, is going to definitely be focus. Life staffs scale or improve with the focus attribute. So this is going to be the primary stat that you'll be investing into pretty much every time you level up. Focus does a lot for you, really. Through the milestones, you get things like a larger mana pool, you get better mana recovery or regen. There's different really good milestones that are unlocked at every 50 points. So 50 focus, 100 focus, 150. We do have an attribute guide actually over on RPG Dojo that shows all of the milestones. I'll have that linked down below if you want to check that out. But definitely focus is going to be your main stat that you want to get as you're leveling up. Now, the other stat that you probably won't be getting a lot of, especially early levels, but you want to keep out an eye for, especially on things like gear and items. That's going to be intelligence. Intelligence does help to increase the effectiveness of your ice gauntlet, which means those like ice storm abilities and the different damaging abilities that we're going to be using on the ice gauntlet when we're not healing will do more damage. Now, like I said, I wouldn't invest any points into intelligence right away, but if you happen to get a gear piece that does have intelligence on it, you might as well equip that. It's going to be decent. Now, the third primary stat that I want you to look out for is going to be Constitution. Now, what I recommend actually is putting a few points into Constitution right away, like your first maybe 10 levels or so. That's going to get your health a lot higher, where you have a better increased survivability, especially early on in the game. The more health you can get, the better, actually. So think about investing your first few points into Constitution. Keep an eye out for gear sets that do buff your Constitution as well. And if you happen to find pieces that are a combination of both Constitution and Focus, those are going to be really good. You're going to want to equip those for sure. Just to summarize, Focus is going to be your primary stat, the one that you're going to want to put your most amount of points into. A little bit of Intelligence is fine, and then some Constitution, especially early on for the extra health. So let's talk about consumables next, starting with our choice of food. There's a couple really good options available right from the start in New World. I would recommend just a basic health regeneration food to start with. This is going to be great for leveling up your healer and helping with your overall survivability. So just that common crafted food, that's going to be all you need when you barely start the game. Now, once you start getting into more challenging content where you are, let's say, the full-time healer for a group, you're going to want to switch over to a mana recovery food. These are called energizing rations or energizing meals. And these are going to increase your mana regen rate by anywhere from like 15 to 20 to 25% for a good long duration, like 25 to 30 minutes. This is definitely what I recommend for more difficult like dungeon crawling content where you need to maintain a lot of healing. Your mana is going to be running low fairly often. So the more recovery that you can get, the better. So make sure you pick up that food for group content. And then as far as the potions, I would recommend having healing and mana potions on at all times. Just the basic health potion is going to be great for your own survivability. If you take like a bunch of damage at once, I would recommend chugging a health potion instead of wasting one of your heals. You can save your heals for group members since you cannot use potions on them. And then when you do get low, you will want to consume those mana potions. So having a good stockpile of those, especially for dungeon content, that's going to be the way to go on this healer setup. Okay, let's talk about your gear setup next. And armor in New World is really flexible. It's one of the things that I actually like a lot about the game. So to know about armor, you first need to understand equip loads. Basically, your equip load is how the game designates you as either a light, medium, or a heavy build. If your weight is 13 or less, you're going to be a light armor build. If your weight is between 13 and 23, you're then going to be a medium build. And if you're 23 and above, you are a heavy build. And each three of these has different benefits and drawbacks. You can see these on the screen right now. Light armor, you basically get 20% damage and healing. Medium armor, you get 10% bonus damage and healing, plus an extra boost to your crowd control debuffs. Finally, with heavy armor, you don't get a damage or healing bonus, but you do have increased block stability and even longer duration of crowd control debuffs. So I don't think there's any right or wrong way to equip your character, especially early game here. You're going to have to decide which of those different loadouts you prefer. Now for me, I think medium armor is right in that sweet spot where you get the 10% bonus damage, the 10% bonus healing, which is going to be good, especially early on, but you still have some decent armor values. You can actually equip 2 pieces of heavy for this, so like a heavy chest, which is going to give you the most armor possible, as well as heavy legs. You can equip 1 medium piece and 2 light pieces. So with this loadout, you'll be right at the limit of medium armor. You'll get that extra bonus damage and healing, and your resistances will still be pretty good. Now, if you want to go light, remember light is going to get up to 20% bonus healing. So the most healing, the min-maxed healing, you're going to want to be in light. And in order to do that with your gear pieces, the best you can probably do is a medium chest piece and then 4 pieces of light. So medium chest, everything else light. That'll keep you in that light range, so you get as much bonus healing and damage as possible. So whatever way you want to go, up to you. You can even do full heavy like we talked about, maybe if you're interested in doing some PvP as well. That'll be the best survivability, but it'll be the lowest amount of healing. And if you're a lower level, maybe your gear isn't as good, your healing is going to really suffer in heavy armor, so keep that in mind. Now, in terms of the gear sets itself, we already talked about this a little bit. Anything with focus on it. As many pieces of focus as possible with some secondary constitution. Remember, constitution equals max health. And if you have some pieces with intelligence, that's going to be decent as well for your ice gauntlet abilities. Now, as far as the weapons, primary is of course going to be the life staff. And again, if you can get focus on your life staff, that's going to be what you want. Also keep an eye out for traits that buff your life staff abilities. Here's one that's pretty good. And there are many weapons similar to this where they buff specific skills from the weapon. So if you can get one like this, that's going to be great. Our backup weapon is the Ice Gauntlet. Stats aren't really as important on this. You're really only using it for the utility. Of course, if you can get a gauntlet with increased intelligence, that's going to buff those abilities in terms of their overall damage. So that would be best. Our first weapon on this healer setup is obviously going to be the life staff. When I was playing on beta, I was able to get this up to 10. So I'll show you the best skills that you can get up to that point, and then I will also show you where you can invest further once you get a little bit higher level. So I would definitely start with a protector tree. When you're starting off, you can actually pick up Orb of Protection right away. This is a decent ability. But the first really solid heal that you'll get access to is called Beacon. Shoots out a light projectile that deals weapon damage to enemies, attaches to the target, and heals all nearby allies for 20% weapon damage each second for 10 seconds. This ends up being a very strong AoE heal over time ability, and it's really great. The only downside, of course, is the cooldown. 35-second cooldown is one of the longest. I think it is the longest, actually, for the life staff, so you'll find yourself waiting to get this ability off because it is quite good. Now, you can buff this ability a little bit, so I would also pick up Infused Light. This makes the area much larger by 50%. That's going to be really helpful. And then Radiance's Blessing. The beacon lasts 5 seconds longer, so that's going to make it a little bit less downtime, but you still have quite a large cooldown on this. So I definitely would save this for larger battles and then pop it at the beginning of the battle. It's going to take a lot of pressure off you as the healer because it's going to be healing your whole group for about 15 seconds. Next up, I would pick up this basic sort of burst heal ability. It's called Light's Embrace. Targeted heal gets 100% of your weapon damage, plus 30% more for each buff on that target. Costs 18 mana, and it has a very quick 4-second cooldown. So that's why I like this early on for the healer setup. 4-second cooldown is really fast. You're going to be able to spam this to keep your tank and to keep your other damage dealers in your group alive quite often. Now, the other side under the healing tree, this is quite interesting. I actually like how New World did this because they're applying a lot of bonuses to your light and heavy attacks. So first off, your light and heavy attacks with the life staff then no longer take mana to use, which is really good. And then Blissful Touch. Light attacks now heal the target for 20% weapon damage when passing through an ally. You pass it through one of the other players in your group, you're going to be healing them and any other allies in the area. This is really great because it doesn't take any mana to cast once you have this Absolved passive unlocked, and there's no cooldown on your light attacks. Well, I mean, there's like a second between each cast, but this is really good for healing in between fights or when you're really low on mana and you don't want to burn off a potion, but you want to do a little bit of extra healing. Definitely do those light attacks to your allies to restore some health. Now, our third heal on the basic setup is called Splash of Light. You and all group members within 100 meters are healed for 50% weapon damage, and it has a very large range, 100 meters. So you can basically capture all your group members within a large room or a large setting and get that heal off on all of them. Now, this is sort of the beginner setup. What I would probably do once I have more points, a little bit higher level, I'm going to switch over from Light's Embrace to Divine Embrace. And the reason for that is that this ability gets 50% more healing. So 150% weapon damage versus only 100% on Light's Embrace. It is slightly slower, 6 seconds, but I feel like the extra, power of the heal would make it worth it. The only downside is it does cost a lot more mana, 25 mana, but you can get some cost reduction here with the passives, like Privilege. Going to reduce that to 20 mana, and then it gets even better the further in rank that you get. So Shared Struggle, if the target is below 50% health, you heal one additional ally for the same amount. That's really good because you would be using this a lot if your group member is under 50% health. And if a second target is below 50% health, you heal another ally. So it basically bounces up to 2 additional targets for a free heal, basically. And again, 6-second cooldown, 150% base heal. I think this is going to be really good. This may be the main spammable burst heal that you're going to use in later levels. So definitely keep an eye on that one. A couple other passives you'll want to pick up eventually. Desperate Speed is pretty cool. When you heal an ally with less than 50% health, all of your cooldowns are reduced by 10%. I also like Enchanted Justice. This goes really good with a heavy armor build. So when you're hit in battle, you activate a healing aura for you and nearby friends, healing for 10% weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. You'll have this up a lot because you do get hit. You won't get focused if your tank is good, but you will get hit occasionally. That's just free healing. Then Intensify. Heavy attacks give you increased healing by 10% for 10 seconds. You can actually stack this up to 3 times, so 30% bonus healing after heavy attacking is really good. And then you'll eventually want to pick up Divine Blessing to combine with that burst heal for Divine Embrace. When you heal an ally, if their health is below 50%, you heal for 30% more. So that's going to be a very strong heal. All right, quick dungeon showcase. I'm going to start with a burst heal for the group because multiple people are taking damage. Also a quick embrace on the main tank who is getting low. And then also using my beacon on the group that's giving heal over times to everybody in the area, which is really good. My cooldowns are off for the group heal, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that. Make sure I target the main tank and hit him with Embrace. And you can see it comes back pretty quick, about 4 seconds cooldown there. I'm low on mana, so at this point I'm going to light attack. Remember, if I angle that correctly, if the light attack is going through the group, it's going to be healing them at the same time, which is basically free heals. So I can do that for a little while now, and my group's doing okay. Tank's doing a great job of controlling the fight. And I do have my beacon back up and ready, which is my best heal, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. That heal over time should finish the fight, and we're good to go. So then we're going to want the Ice Gauntlet for our backup weapon. I wasn't able to get this weapon super high on the beta, but it is extremely useful just for the extra utility that it offers. So I would recommend starting with probably the Builder's Side and Ice Pylon. So this basically puts a little ice column on the ground that then spits out ice damage at enemies. It's really just extra passive damage when you don't need to worry about healing so much. Then a really nice defensive option for yourself is called Entombed. You entomb yourself in ice to become invulnerable and greatly increase your mana regen. So the tomb has a lifetime of 10 seconds, though it can be destroyed by enemies before the 10 seconds. And you have 2 options to exit. You either press right mouse button to exit, or you can break out pressing the left mouse. That causes a knockback, but that does cost extra mana. So you probably will just want to either let it last for the full duration or use right click. Now, the important part of this is it does increase your mana regen, so you can pop this when you're getting low, and then stay inside it for a few seconds for the extra recovery. Now, you won't be able to cast any other abilities, so you do have to be careful with that. The main thing that you'll probably want it for is defense. If your tank loses control of a fight and you get jumped on by a pile of adds, then definitely go into your ice form, because that's going to save your life potentially. And one of my favorite abilities on the Ice Gauntlet is going to be Ice Storm. A ranged attack deals 17% weapon damage every quarter second and slows enemies 25% slower with a 20-second cooldown. So I do pop this as soon as we go into a fight with a big group of enemies. I'll throw this down on the ground. It's going to slow all of them. It makes them easier to control for the tank. It also does pretty decent damage over time, and eventually we'll be able to get some passive bonuses for having the ice effect on the ground. So that's the basic setup. Like I said, you don't need very many points at all to get started with it. The main thing that you want is those 3 abilities. So the Pylon, the Entombed skill, and then Ice Storm. Now, eventually for more damage, you can buff the Ice Pylon quite a bit. Look at all these extra passives that you can get for it. You can also buff your Entombed skill. Strength Entombed is actually really cool. I picked this one up early because it increases your defense after you break out. That's going to be really helpful. And then Cleansing Tomb also cleanses all debuffs on you when you're in the tomb, so that's pretty cool as well. And you will want to max out your Ice Storm also. So Weakening Gust increases damage of the Ice Storm by 10% for 3 seconds. Storm Summoner is going to be really good. That reduces the cost by 80% if you cast this at full mana. So I do pretty much cast this as the first skill going into a lot of encounters. So you would get a huge cost reduction if you play that way also. And then this is really good. We talked about how this can debuff enemies. Punishing Storm increases damage by 10% for each enemy in Ice Storm. So this combined with Weakening Gust, you're just racking up free damage basically. Quick demo of the Ice Gauntlet. Here I'm taking tons of damage, so I go right away into the Entombed Ice form here. It definitely saves me. I lose the aggro, and unfortunately I don't have my potion on, which would have been nice if I had that slotted, but I am able to heal back up and get my heals back going for the group. And then after we have control, here's where I can do some extra damage. So slap down that Ice Pylon to damage the main boss here. And then I also have my Ice Storm back up, so I'll go ahead and throw that on for some more damage over time for the slow. Just some little extra things, some extra utility and damage for when you need it is definitely nice. So I wanted to add a section to this video on leveling up this build, because leveling up as a healer can definitely be a challenge in New World, especially given the final setup that we want to use, which is the Life Staff combined with the Ice Gauntlet. There's not a ton of great solo abilities in there, so you will probably, as you're leveling up, switch out the Ice Gauntlet for something a little bit different. Now, what I would suggest is you can use a version of the Templar build that I also created a video for. This is a great solo build that uses Spear as the primary weapon with the Life Staff as the backup weapon. So the Spear is going to give you a lot more flexibility and CC, crowd control, when it comes to taking on solo enemies. That's going to be a really great option if you're just questing, you're doing the story quest or side missions, faction quests, even if you want to do a little PvP questing. Remember, if you do a couple of attacks with your Life Staff and then switch to the Spear, you'll actually get weapon experience for both weapons. So make sure you're doing that for a while, and then you can also alternate over to using Spear and then Ice Gauntlet so that you unlock those 3 Ice Gauntlet abilities that we're going to want for group content. I'll have a link to the Templar build in the description and the pinned comment down below. It's definitely a great way to level up this build, and you can pretty easily switch back and forth, which is what I did a lot during the last beta. All right, everybody, and that is going to wrap up our Cleric Easy Meta Healer setup for New World launch. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Of course, if you did, please crush that like button and give us a comment because it definitely helps. We are a brand new channel here on YouTube, so just trying to slay that algorithm as much as we can. I think I mentioned it earlier, but I do have a written version of this build over on rpgdojo.com. You can check that out for a full breakdown of skills and passives, the consumables that we're using, and a whole lot more. As always, thank you for your support. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you around in the next one. Bye.
Oh,